let's continue on with this list so I can go to bed. It's like 3 something in the morning right now, and I have to get up at like 7:30 and pick up my girlfriend from the airport. So, not gonna be a fun drive. Alright, Cannon Cart. This is a card I really like. It's gonna be B tier in my opinion. I think it's sneaky good. It's kind of hard to take out. It does a decent amount of damage. Stuff like Bomber is not going to be able to take it out quick enough. These goblins do like almost no damage to it, and you think it would. I think it can like almost take out a knight, or if not, like almost completely. When it dies, it pulls stuff in like a giant or something. Also, when it dies, it doesn't switch targets. It stays locked onto the tower, and you can't push it away. Like, once it turns into cannon form, it's still getting that tower damage. It's kind of like a really annoying card to deal with. It locks onto the tower from pretty far away, too. I like Cannon Card. I think it's a very underrated card. Some people would put it lower, but I think it's pretty good. All right, Giant. It's gotta be S tier, right? I mean, the card's been around for so long, but that doesn't always make a card good, as you know. But it's also just like the key focus to so many decks. It's most people's decks when they start Clash Royale for the first time, they have a Giant deck. I think that's all you can have when you start is a Giant deck. It's good in so many varieties. You can have Giant Witch. You could even have Giant Night Witch. You can have Giant with a Wizard behind it. You can have Giant with a Prince behind it, or a Dark Prince. What else? I mean, you can have Giant with a the Zap Dragon. I forget his name. Electro Dragon behind it. Electro Wizard behind it. Just about anything behind any support card works pretty well behind a Giant. It's got to be S tier, guys. All right. Goblin Hut, I think, is slightly better than Barb Hut. At 5 elixir, it's not as crazy of an investment. And the Spear Gobs are like a little bit more annoying to deal with, especially like if you have a push that fails and like 4, 5, 6 of the Spear Gobs have built up, and then all of a sudden you have like just wave of Spear Gobs come into your tower. At that point, it kind of snowballs and gets a little bit out of control. It also, brings stuff in. They don't do a lot of damage. That's the only downside. It's 5 elixirs less than 7, but that's not cheap by any means. And they don't do like a whole lot of damage. So basically you have to put it down and then you have to protect it at all costs. Whereas like a cannon or something, you can let the Giant kind of come and like take it out because it's going to get its damage on the Giant. It's going to get its damage in. These Spear Gobs aren't going to do a lot of damage, but they'll chip away the tower and stuff like that, and sometimes they can snowball. Royal Giant is going to be A tier for sure, guys. Just like the Giant, he's a focus of many decks. Royal Giant decks are really annoying to deal with, especially me. I have some buildings. With my Expo, they throw a Royal Giant down. It's really annoying to take care of right away, or it'll take out my Expo, but just by shooting it, and I usually have to fight on their side of the field to like get rid of it. I have an Inferno Tower, which does take it out pretty good, but one zap, and the Royal Giant's actually going to take it out faster than it can burn it down. Same thing, like a lot of times they have Lightning in their deck. A lot of Royal Giant decks also have Furnace, so not only does my Expo have to chip down Royal Giant, and then it has to chip down the Furnace. It's just really annoying. It also does so much damage. Each shot is like 350 or something like that. It does so much damage. The problem why it's not S tier is if they have like a big P.E.K.K.A. Or a tornado or something like that, so where you can pull it away from hitting the tower. Sometimes it just doesn't quite get there fast enough before it gets taken out against decks like that. But it's a real easy way to get some tower damage if they don't have a card like that to take it out. Knight's A tier. It's close to being S tier, but it's not quite there. It's really good at taking out wizards or a Valkyrie and stuff like that. It's really good on defense. It sucks monster dong on offense. We all know that. It sucks so bad on offense. That's why it's not S tier. You would never start a push with Knight, but it's really good on defense, and it has a lot of health too. The problem is it's not good against like a witch on defense. So if they have Giant Witch, your knight is basically useless because it's going to get confused in all the skeletons, and it's not going to take out the witch, which you want it to, or the giant. It's just going to get confused if they have a lot of swarm stuff. The knight is a confused fellow, so you can't quite put him in S tier. Mega Minion. I'm going to go B tier. It's not quite C tier. It's a little better, actually, than C tier. See it in a lot of decks, a lot of Lava Hound decks, some Golem decks and stuff. It does a lot of damage when it's behind stuff. I think it's pretty easy to take out. Lightning, Fire Spirits. It doesn't have a lot of health. That's why it's not higher. It's not too hard to take out, but if you don't take it out, it does a decent amount of damage. I don't know. I don't really have a huge breakdown for that card. Fireball. It's B tier. It's solid. It's in so many decks. I mean, I could probably put it 8. I'm going to put it A tier because it takes out. It basically takes out things like Musketeer. It does take out Magic Archer. It almost takes out Wizard and Witch and stuff like that. A Zap and a Log or Log will do it. You can also hit the tower. It crushes stuff like barbs and stuff like that. So it's really versatile. It's really good for getting shower tip damage, stuff like that. Poison. It's going to be A tier as well. I actually kind of like Poison myself a little bit better than Fireball. I could probably put it there, even though that's not... Don't look at this list and be like it's before, but because I haven't been doing that the whole time. But I think it's actually a little bit better than Fireball because Fireball, like, you have the chance of a mistake, right? With Fireball, you have a lot larger window with Poison. So with Fireball, if you have like a fast-moving troop, or maybe you're trying to hit like the tower and a troop, or there's 2 troops near the tower and you're trying to hit everything, if you don't time the fireball throw like exactly, you might miss your target, and then you kind of just wasted 4 elixir. With Poison, it's pretty easy to place, and as soon as you put it down, it's on that thing. That's why I like Poison a little better. There's not as much room for mistakes with Poison. Big P.E.K.K.A. It's A tier. I can't quite put it S tier. I know with most of these cards, like, you can see that it's kind of its own deck archetype. So Miner is like its own kind of bait deck. Hog Riders is like its own kind of bait deck. Giant is its own kind of deck. You could argue that Goblin Barrel is too. Some of them are support or spells. P.E.K.K.A. is also its own deck type. The problem with P.E.K.K.A. is there's a lot of counters to it. So it's really good on defense, but Freeze will mess with its ability to take out a Hog Rider. Witch will distract it, just kind of like the Knight. 1 elixir skeletons give it a tough time. Bats kind of just wreck it if it's over on your side of the field. Skeleton Army crushes. Spear Gobs, stuff like that. It gets distracted so easily, and it can get burnt down by an Inferno Tower. So yes, it's so good on defense, but other than that, it's usually not going to get to a tower unless you've severely misplayed it on defense. Elixir Collector. Now here's a card I haven't seen played as much. Back in the day, I would have probably put it A or B tier. I have to put Elixir Collector C tier now because so many people have spells in their deck. It's actually tougher for me to deal with because the only spell I have is Log. But if you have Fireball or Poison, especially Rocket or Lightning, this card is useless. Like, if you have those cards in your deck, the card is basically useless. Where it becomes really good is if they don't have an immediate counter, then you can kind of build up collectors, and by the time it gets to double elixir, if you have 1 like full or like 2 collectors going, it's almost a guarantee. I would say you win like 90% of the time with that kind of stuff. So it's almost like a guaranteed victory if you play somebody without a counter. But the problem is most people will have the counter to that. Alright, Dark Prince. I think he's B tier. He's definitely better than the Elixir Collector. I know 2 totally different cards, but I'm thinking recent memory now. He's really good. Like, he doesn't do as much damage as the normal Prince, but he's good at taking out swarms of stuff. Like, Skeleton Army is a bit tricky. Depending on the placement, he can take out a Skeleton Army or stuff like that. He can definitely take out a Goblin Gang or Goblins. He can sometimes take out stronger troops. He can definitely take out like a Witch or a Wizard or stuff like that, especially if he gets the charge in on him. It's really hard to deal with if you have a Dark Prince and something else coming to your tower at the same time. Pretty interesting card. Fire Spirits. I'm going to have to put them in B tier. They haven't been used as much lately. I use them in my deck. I think they're really good. They do so much more damage than people realize. They're really good at just throwing them down sometimes, and you get good chip damage on their tower. Or if you just need them in a bind, almost never is somebody going to zap Fire Spirits or Arrow's Fire Spirits or be able to poison Fire Spirits, because when you put them down, you want them to hit their target right away. If you use them to take out something like minions or minion horde, you put them down and you want them to jump in the minion horde right away. Or if you can use them to distract like a mini P.E.K.K.A. to take out the mini P.E.K.K.A. before it hits your tower. Or some other splash damage stuff. I forget all the cards exactly it's useful for. The problem is if it doesn't take out what you want it to, or if you misplace it, it's kind of like, it's a little bit of an all or nothing card, but it's like they do their damage and then they're done. Whereas something like Spear Gobs, if you protect them, they'll keep doing damage over time. They'll keep throwing spears. Once they hop into their target, they're done. But I find them really useful in a pinch, and they're only 2 elixir. Royal Recruits. This is like one of my favorite cards in the game. I'm going to put it at B tier, actually, higher than probably most people would put it. But I really like Royal Recruits. They're really fun, in my opinion. They're kind of an easy card to play. You don't need a lot of skill to play Royal Recruits, because even if they have stuff coming in both lanes, you got it covered. They can't be fireballed. They can be poisoned, but they can't be fireballed. They can't be rocketed. They can't be lightninged. They're going to survive those things. And they're really good at distracting big stuff. They can take out big stuff if you have like a bunch of them targeting one thing. And they're pretty useful on offense too if you split them. And then if you have like a Ram Rider on one side and a Battle Ram on the other side, it's going to be really hard for that person to defend both lanes. And for that reason, I really like Royal Recruits. All right, Goblin Giant. In my opinion, guys, it's D tier. Now, I know there's probably some of you guys out there that have the Goblin Giant in your deck and you're like, that's my favorite card in the game. I was so glad when they put that card in.
It's got 2 goblins on the back and they take stuff out on the way to the tower.
The problem is this. I use this in classic battles all the time for war, and I can just never seem to get this guy to the tower ever. He doesn't have a whole lot of health. I feel like a mini P.E.K.K.A. takes him out in like 3 swings, or a big P.E.K.K.A. in like 2 swings, and then it's done. The 2 Spear Gobs do like almost no damage. Like, yes, they'll take out bats if they put bats down, but nobody's going to put down just bats to take out this troop. They'll put down like a P.E.K.K.A. or a mini P.E.K.K.A. or not Spear Gobs, or what's it called? Like a Skeleton Army or something like that. And the Spear Gobs on the back just aren't enough. I feel like it needs 3 Spear Gobs on the back. It definitely needs like 3 Spear Gobs on its back, and it needs like a plus 5% to its health, I think, to be useful. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm not using it right. I know it's okay in a deck with Sparky, but in my opinion, like, it's one of the worst tanks in the game, if not the worst. All right, Barb Barrel. This is a card I see a lot. It's in so many decks, bait decks, Hog Rider decks. It's in like almost any deck. You can pretty much put it in any deck. It's like a regular log. It's good against Goblin Barrel and stuff like that. And then it has the added bonus of possibly distracting something by having the one Barbarian come out of it. It's not quite S tier because, I mean, barbs aren't great, I don't think. And like it's not going to do much damage. The only reason the barb is any good is for distraction. And the reason this card is so good is it's 2 elixir. If it was any more than 2 elixir, this card would never get used. People would just use log. I like to use log because I like that added tower damage for the chip. That's why Log is in S tier. But it's a good card nonetheless. All right, 2 Elixir Goblins. Man, you guys, first off, if you've made it this far, like, hats off to you guys. But these guys, in my opinion, are kind of ass. Like, they're not good. Back in the day, they were good. I knew a lot of people in my clan used to use it back in the day. Now, for whatever reason, I think it's just because there's so many better options at 2 Elixir. And the problem is they get taken out so easily. Put these down to defend a cannon cart, and it's like boom, boom, bap. And they're done, and it did like 1% damage to the cannon cart. Like a giant skelly will take them out, boom, boom, bap. I don't even think it stops a skeleton army from getting to the tower sometimes. Cannon shreks it. I mean, even spear gobs will wreck them. There's so many better options. I'd rather use bats at 2 Elixir. And I think so many people use Goblin Gang because you get 3 of these guys, but then you also get 2 Spear Goblin guys. And the only thing that these guys have going for them is they can't get zapped. But there's so many... Log takes them out. There's so many ways to get them taken out. I don't like them. Get them out. Buff them. Alright, Lightning. Lightning's going to A tier, guys. It's one of the best spells in the game. It's only not good. It's not in S tier because it's not going to be good against like a bait deck because you're not going to Lightning a Gob Barrel or a Miner or Goblin Gang or something. So it's not good against that. But it's good against any Expo deck because you can Lightning that kind of thing. It's good against any deck with a tower in it, like an Inferno Tower. That's shredded if you have Lightning. It's good against decks with a lot of support. So let's say you have a giant, a wizard, and a witch coming down the lane. You can Lightning all 3 of those things. You can Lightning like a Musketeer and the tower and a bandit or something. You can get a lot of value with it. You can take out 10 elixir worth of stuff by using a 6 elixir card. That's why it's so good. All right, Battle Ram. I'm putting this at B tier. I see it so much, especially in P.E.K.K.A decks, but in a few different decks. I can never get this thing to the tower, like, ever. I think it's so easy to defend. The only time I think it ever gets to my tower is if I'm at, like, a severe elixir disadvantage. If I don't have anything to play, it gets to my tower. But for some reason, other people really get it to work. I think you have to be pretty skilled to know when to play this thing, behind what, to get it to that tower. If it does connect, it does a decent amount of damage, and the barbs are really annoying to deal with. It's one of those cards that can catch you off guard. Archers. These guys are going to be A tier. I think they're a little worse now that I think Arrows takes out Archers now, actually. So they're not as good as they were because of that. But they're so useful because they can't be logged, unlike Spear Goblins. That's why they're so much better. They're like Spear Goblins, but they do way more damage. They can't be logged. And they're really good at taking out things like Graveyard. If you have this and they put down a Graveyard, this will take care of it really easily. Archers are really good at distracting like a mini P.E.K.K.A or a Knight. You can play it in the middle to take out a Valkyrie or a Lumberjack. They're really versatile. They're really good. A tier. Flying Machine. This guy's B tier. So, Flying Machine is good only if you don't have anything to really take care of it. You have Lightning or Fireball, you're probably going to be able to take out their Flying Machine. If you don't have anything to take it out really quickly and they have it behind a bunch of stuff, it's going to rack up damage really quick. It doesn't do a lot, but it shoots really fast. And so it'll kind of like just wear things down. Really, it's almost like a flying Musketeer / Expo type deal. It's really good behind stuff. And if they get like 2 Flying Machines down and you don't have anything, like it's over. Mirror's D tier. Now here's why. It's probably one of the worst spells in the game. I think, yes, it can kind of catch people off guard. Like, it's only good if you're it's got to be so specific for it to be good. It's good on defense, like if you need that card again, like in a pinch. Like let's say, man, the only splash damage you have is Wizard, and they have so much splash damage stuff in their deck. Then boom, you can play another Wizard, and it can be like one level higher, and it's going to do a good job at taking that stuff out for you. That's the only scenario I can think of, is if you're facing a deck where you don't have a lot of ways to deal with like one of their cards, and you need to play Mirror, or you need it like in a pinch. Other than that, like I feel like decks are more well-rounded if they don't have Mirror. Like instead of having 2 Wizards, like have a Wizard and something else that also does splash damage. You know what I mean? Like I would rather have 2 different cards than 2 of the same cards. Zappies, once upon a time, were pretty good. I think they're D tier now. I forget when, but they were a little better. They've kind of like fallen off now. Again, if you don't take care of them right away, they will stop your push. Your golem or your giant is never going to make it to the tower if you don't deal with Zappies. The thing is, they can be dealt with Fireball, Poison, Wizard. Executioner deals with them pretty well. And at one point in time, they shot really fast. I think it takes longer for them to charge up now, I think is the nerf they did a few months ago. So they're D tier because they take so long to get a shot off. Alright, Royal Hogs. We'll go C tier with those guys. Once upon a time, they were a little better. I don't think I've seen them that much this year, but last year, like in pros and stuff like that, in the Clash Royale like finals and stuff or tournaments, they used to use Royal Hogs a decent amount. I don't see them as much anymore because they don't do a lot of damage and they're kind of easy to take out. They might be good with healer. Ooh, I might have to try that. I'll have to try healer with them and see if they're any good. But they're kind of easy to like bring to, especially if tornado or fireball. Bomb tower's pretty good at taking them out. But yeah, they ate. Okay, now Expo. This is where things get interesting. No, it is not B tier. Expo is S tier, baby, because that's my card. And not only is it my card, I have a little bit. I don't have your normal Cancer like Expo cycle with 1 Elixir Skeletons, Tesla, Rocket, Ice Golem, Archers, or whatever is in that Cancer deck. I hate that deck. I cannot beat that deck with mine. But what my deck is good at is taking out, like, mine's really good at taking out other decks. I can usually deal with giant golem decks. I can deal with royal giant decks most of the time. I can deal with graveyard decks usually. But mine's really good at taking out like any tank style deck. Because I have Inferno Tower in it and Mini P.E.K.K.A. Hog Rider decks are toast if I face those. But Expo, I'm getting sidetracked. I'm talking about my deck instead of Expo. I don't need to make this video any longer than it already is, but Expo, if you know how to play it, it takes some skill to learn. Once you get the strategies down and you know, like, you can predict what they're going to put down to defend it, you kind of have to learn, like, first time you put it down, what are they using to defend it? Second time, know that they're probably going to use that same strategy to defend your Expo. And then, boom, from there you just get it to lock onto the tower, and boom, bada boom, bada bop. That's probably one thing people hate, is getting shredded by an Expo. I get a lot of 3 crowns because people leave after my Expo has locked on the tower. If you get it to lock on the tower and they've got like 1 elixir, they're probably leaving the game. Royal Ghost, I'm going to put it at B. It's a pretty good card. It's nasty because it can't be seen. It always gets the first shot off because it can't be seen. So like, you can't play something like Fire Spirits to defend it because they're not going to dive into it until it hits them and destroys them. It's pretty good. I think it can take out like Goblin Gang and stuff like that. It gets to the tower a decent amount because if you don't distract it right away, nothing shoots it. Pretty interesting card. I like that idea for a card. Golem. S tier. Golem is not OP on its own. It's actually kind of... Golem without support cards is kind of a bad card, if you think about it that way. The problem is it allows other cards to be so good. It has so much health, and then it breaks, like, even after you do all the damage to it to make it explode, it's got the 2 Golemites that have a respectable amount of health, and it does area damage, and the Golemites kind of tank for stuff too. So you get a Night Witch behind it, and all the bats are just so annoying to deal with. The bats can get locked onto the tower. The bats can take out other stuff. Night Witch dies. There's more bats to deal with. You can get a Magic Archer behind it. You can get a Witch behind it. You can get a Baby Dragon or a Dark Prince or something behind the Golem, and it shreds. It makes it even worse too if they have a Lumberjack and it dies and then it gets raged up. It is so hard to deal with, like a Night Witch, a Baby Drag, a Lumberjack, and a Golem, and then it all gets raged and makes it worse. So Golem has got to be S tier. I face it so much on the ladder. I hate it. Probably my most hated deck, Golem Night Witch. Ewiz. It's A tier. Oh my goodness, we have 3 rows in A tier. It's got to be A tier in my opinion. It's good at a few different things. It's not S tier because its health's pretty low. Can be fireballed. Mini P.E.K.K.A gets it, just shreds it. Skeleton Army shreds it, stuff like that. But if kept alive, it can reset an Inferno Tower. Then it kind of ruins your defense plans. If you have something in front of it, like an Ice Golem, it resets whatever's attacking you. It takes forever to get to the tower. It resets Sparky. You can throw it down in a pinch on something like a Goblin Gang or a Night Witch if it's like half health or something like that. Or bats. It's just a pretty good card. Balloon. I'm going A tier. Some of you guys could put this probably in S tier. This is like also one of my most hated cards because I feel like it does way too much damage. I'm okay with how much damage it does to the tower because I feel like the whole goal is don't let it reach the tower. Don't let it reach the tower. You're like, oh my god, is it going to reach the tower? So it can be tornadoed away. But my problem is, even if it gets close to the tower, it drops a bomb, and that thing does like 400 damage. So if you have a tower with like 400 damage or close to that, all they have to do sometimes is put a balloon in the pocket, and if it moves an inch towards the tower, or if it's coming in from the bridge, it just has to make it like a little over halfway there, and it's going to get a lot of tower damage in, and that's really, really annoying. And not only that, but it damages all the troops that you put down to defend against it. So, in my opinion, this is a card that needs nerfed. I think it should be, they need to nerf it down to somewhere like B tier. Maybe still give it death damage, but like cut it in half or something. Or make the bomb that it drops range like way less. Because right now it is getting way too much value, and it is so annoying to play against. I hate playing against that. Baby Dragon, I'm going to put it in B tier. Some of you might put it higher. It's in a lot of decks. It's in Golem decks. I've seen it in P.E.K.K.A decks, stuff like that. Baby Dragon is good because it does splash damage. It'll get rid of bats or minions, stuff like that. The only reason it's not higher is because it takes a decent amount of time for it to burp up its fireball of flame. And that fireball of flame is more of like a burp of charcoal, because it doesn't do a whole lot of damage. It does damage to bats, and it takes 2 shots for minions, but anything else, like, it's never going to do any damage to like a Hog Rider. It would take way too long. It's basically useless. It's doing almost nothing to a Golem as it comes in. It's doing almost nothing to a big P.E.K.K.A as it comes in. It's really only good for really low damage. I wouldn't mind seeing it get like a 5% damage increase. Maybe 2. I don't. It might be fine where it is. Ice Whiz. I'm putting it in A tier. It's in my deck. I love this card for a bunch of reasons. It got a buff to where it does more damage. So it can take out Minion Horde in like 3 shots. Same with minions. It's really good at taking out like Skeleton Army. But it's best at slowing stuff the hell down. So I really love it because not only does it take longer for like, let's say a Lava Hound or a Giant or a Golem to get to my tower, that allows my tower to shoot it longer and my troops to do more. But also, like, I can put it down, and then if I only have 2 elixir, instead of having 3 elixir by the time it reaches my tower, I might have 5 because it took way longer. So also, by the time it gets to close to my tower, I have like way more elixir ready to defend than if the Ice Wizard wasn't slowing stuff down. Super versatile card. I really like it. Bats are also going to be A tier. I feel like I have so much stuff. There's a lot of good cards in this game. As you guys can see, my list is a little top heavy. There's a lot of really good cards in this game, I think, and not a lot of bad ones. But there are a decent amount of C and D tiers, I guess. But what did I just do? Bats are really good. They can be zapped. Yes, that's why they're not S tier. But if they're not zapped, they do a lot of damage really fast. And I mean like really fast. They'll take a Hog Rider out like it's nothing. And if they happen to get tanked for and they get onto a tower, oh my god, it's so fast. And if your zap misses like just one bat and it gets on your tower, it might not seem like much, but it will literally, that one bat will like chip your tower down. I've seen one bat like chip my mini P.E.K.K.A down before it makes it to the tower, and that really pisses me off. Mini P.E.K.K.A. It's S tier. I love mini P.E.K.K.A. It doesn't get the love it deserves. If placed just right, it'll take out a Hog Rider before it reaches the tower. And even if you're a little late, it's still only going to get one swing. The Hog Rider will. It's great. It'll destroy a Giant. It'll destroy a Golem. It'll destroy a just about any tank in this game. It'll destroy. It destroys support troops like Valkyrie or Witch or Wizard, Prince, Dark Prince. It destroys just about anything in this game that is not a swarm card or a spell. All right, Rocket. I'm going to go ahead and put Rocket in A tier. I thought about putting it in S tier, but the more I look at it, I realize the only reason I would put it in S tier is because I'm an Expo player and I hate playing Rocket because it's a direct counter. But now Rocket, I feel like, is so much more important now that tiebreakers are in the game. There's no draws. So let's say you have a really close game. Each person has like 800 tower damage. Let's say each person has like 1,500 tower damage. And it's like 10 seconds left. All they have to do is Rocket, and they're going to win that game, even though they didn't take out your full tower. And I think that's really annoying, actually. And I think it does way too much damage. I hate playing Rocket cycle decks, like the bait decks like Miner, because I feel like I've put in so much effort to take out their tower, and I've got like half their tower taken out, and all they did was throw a Miner on my tower for like 500 damage, and like in between they threw 3 rockets. And that was like the majority of their damage. It's a little OP. I think it needs to do less tower damage. I'm fine with how much damage it does to like troops and stuff like that, but like crown towers, it needs to do a little less, in my opinion. It feels like such a cheap way to get tower damage. But I mean, I gotta respect it's pretty good. I mean, that's why it's A tier. Lava Hound. Now here is a tank that I like, but is not as good as the others. I'm gonna put it in B tier. I thought about maybe not. You know, I'm gonna put it in C tier. The only deck I think it's really good in is Lava Loon, and I think that can be kind of stopped too. The problem with the Lava Hound is it does virtually no damage until the pups come out. I mean, it's like spitting water at your tower if it gets to it. It does like nothing. So I have no problem sometimes just leaving a Lava Hound with like half health and just let it do its thing to my tower while I take care of other towers, and then just throw out arrows or zap or snowball for the pups. and it gets cleaned up pretty easily. The only when it's really good is when it's tanking for something else like a balloon, because then it's really hard to like defend the balloon, because stuff will target the lava hound. If you have splash damage, you need splash damage for lava balloon decks, which I don't have a lot of, so that's why it's as good as it is at C tier. It can be devastating if they have freeze or a miner that comes in and they protect the pups. Then it can be kind of devastating, so I'll respect it at C, maybe B tier. Alright, so it looks like we are at our last one, but actually there's 5 cards that aren't on this tier list, so we actually have 6 more, and I'll go through those real quick. There's some of the newer ones that aren't on there, and those are Elixir Golem, Wall Breakers, Healer, Goblin Cage, and Fisherman. And so we'll get to those right after we get to Princess. So Princess is really good. It's really annoying. I would put it B tier. So it looks like B tier is our second one to get 3 levels. It's really annoying to deal with in bait decks because you have to make that split decision, like, do I log it? Because if I log it, they're probably going to throw a Goblin Barrel, and I might not have that for the Goblin Barrel. Or you might say, I'm going to throw Fire Spirits at it, but then they protect the Princess last second. Or they throw it behind the tower and you can't quite get to it, and it's shooting from really far away at stuff, and it just happens to catch your minions and take them out. So it's really kind of an annoying card. It's more of an annoyance than anything. It's not going to do a lot of damage. At best, it's going to barely chip your tower, but it's one of those cards that's in your deck to kind of bait out a log or bait out a spell so that your other stuff can do more damage. Alright, so let's talk about the Fisherman next. The Fisherman was a much better card when it first came out because you could pull stuff in and have it attack your king tower. It's not as good at that anymore. The problem with Fisherman is it doesn't have a ton of health and it does almost no damage. I mean, its fish slaps are more like pillow slaps, and it doesn't seem to get the job done, and there's better cards at 3 elixir. So honestly, I would say Fisherman is probably like D, maybe C tier. We'll go with C tier because it can still pull stuff. I mean, if you get it just right, you might be able to get it to activate the King Tower. Or if you can pull stuff away, like you can pull a Hog Rider away from hitting your tower if you play it perfectly. But it also gets distracted pretty easily. We'll say D tier in its current state. Alright, up next we have Wall Breakers, and when these first came out, they were probably at ass tier. Like, just straight up, just ass tier. They've gotten a little bit better. I think they maybe buffed their health or their speed or something like that. They're pretty good at getting to the tower, and I think also they buffed that when they hit the tower, they blow up stuff near the tower too. So if you've got like Goblin Gang near the tower, and it makes it'll blow up your Goblin Gang too, which is pretty cool. So I would put Wall Breakers at C tier right now. You don't see them used very often, but if somebody's really skilled with them, like, it can get a sneaky, like, huge amount of tower damage. And if you play it really wrong, it'll take out your card too, so that's like a huge, like, elixir disadvantage. Alright, up next we have the Goblin Cage. And this is kind of a cool concept for a card. Unfortunately, it's at best D tier. This is because he doesn't attack very fast and he has really low health. He has super low health to where he usually gets in like one hit and then dies. And it's not like his damage is up there like with the mini peck or anything like that. It's more like getting hit. It's more like getting hit once by like a bomber. Obviously it's not splash damage, but it's about that amount of damage, and it's almost like Tombstone in a bit, where it brings stuff to the middle, but like doesn't do damage to that target very well. So I mean, yes, it's good at bringing stuff to the middle, and yes, it's a troop that comes out. That's why it's D tier. But the troop itself is not good. I've never seen a Goblin Cage Goblin make it to the tower. After that, we have my most hated card in the game. Golem Night Witch is like my most hated deck, although this one might be worse. It's pretty close. That's the Elixir Golem. I cannot stand this card. There's some cards that aren't good, like Goblin Cage, or like Wall Breakers aren't great, but I like the concept, like the idea. Oh, it's a building, but then it's a troop that comes out. Or Cannon Cart is a really cool concept. I don't like the concept at all for Elixir Golem. It's really annoying. I don't like that there's all this elixir that somebody can gain. I feel like the Elixir Golem messes with the flow of the game way too much, because if it doesn't work out and it doesn't get any tower damage, boom, that person has automatically like 4 extra elixir that you don't, unless they played it just terrible. And that's really annoying. It's also just a really annoying card in general. It splits like 60 million times and they do so much damage. And then when you get something like a Night Witch and a healer behind it, and it's only 3 elixir itself, it's so annoying. It's gonna go in, I would say it's B tier right now. It was a lot better, but they nerfed it, thank God, a little bit. It's B tier, but you get like a healer and a Night Witch behind it. It is so annoying. It's annoying with rage as well. I don't like this card at all. It kind of ruins playing the game for me when I play against it or with it. Alright, up last we have the Battle Healer. And this could change in like a week because I'm sure it's probably going to get nerfed. It's really good. I would put it A tier. It's not quite S tier, but it's A tier. It keeps stuff alive. So one of my favorite things to do is make a crazy Elixir Creator clone mirror deck with healer in it and see if I can get like 4 healers down. And usually if I do, it's like unstoppable. It's really susceptible to air, like minions or bats, and that's why it's not S tier, but it's really good at keeping other troops alive. And for me, I like the concept of the card. It reminds me of like Mercy from Overwatch, who's like in there healing the other troops and keeps them in the game, basically like a battle healer. And it's fun. It creates some new strategies in the game that some other cards, don't really do. For example, like Goblin Cage, like it's a cool idea, but it doesn't really, change up the game a ton. Like it's still just a building and like one little troop. But healer changes. I mean, you can put healer in virtually any deck, and it changes the way you have to play and both defend that deck. And I really like that. It makes the game feel refreshing to me. And yes, I get why a lot of people are frustrated because it is kind of overpowered right now. I just hope that Supercell doesn't nerf it into the ground like they did with Elite Barbs down here in S tier. But as long as they just, kind of tweak it a little bit, maybe give it a little less health. I think its healing is good. I like how much, but maybe just a tiny bit less overall health. I think it'll be in a good spot. I really like Battle Healer. It's A tier. And oh my god, guys, that's going to do it for the Clash Royale tier list. My voice is done. I recorded this all in like one go. Hopefully some of you watched this video all the way through. I know it was super long. I probably split it into like 2 or 3 videos because now that I'm recording it, I don't want to post like an hour-long video because that's like asking way too much for you guys to watch. But let me know down in the comments below a couple of different things. 1, where did I screw up? What did you disagree with me on? 2, let me know if you think I'm right on any of these cards. And let me know too also, where would you have put some of this stuff that you did think I got wrong. I'm actually really interested to see which cards you guys really like in Clash Royale. And with that, I got a bunch more Clash Royale videos planned. I'm excited to get back into doing that content, playing maybe some live streams. Those are a little bit tricky with my internet. My internet's finicky. Sometimes it works, sometimes it likes to be a butthole. But anyways, guys, I'm done. It's like 4 a.m., so my ass is going to bed. And I will see you guys in the next one.